Hi there, welcome to the first Team Clueless battle report in the new 7th edition of Warhammer 40k. So today it is myself, I am playing Demons and Chaos Space Marines, and I am facing Mark, who is playing a plethora of things.
I'm playing two armies.
Exactly, a plethora. You've got loads of different stuff on the table.
You've got more detachments than me.
I've got two, you've got two.
No, you've got three. You've got an allies and detachment and the detachment, so shut up.
No, the allies are... Anyway, what you can gather is that the new 7th edition has many different ways of making up your army. As a group, we've kind of decided, or Mark and I have kind of decided, and then we'll attempt to browbeat the rest of our group to use the same method, that we're going to have 2 detachments per army. You can have as many, I think they're called battle forged detachments in a game, which are basically the standard force org you're used to. You can actually take as many of those as you like, and you can also take as many allied detachments as you like, or you can play the stupid unbound rules, which I don't think we'll ever do. So I think we decided amongst ourselves that we're going to play 2 detachments, so whether there'll be 2 battle forged 2 kind of like standard force org charts, or 1 ally, 1 other. You can make that choice yourself, or you can also take a formation as a detachment. So you could take a formation and 1 other detachment as well. So I think that's the rules we'll be using going forwards, and I suspect that's what tournaments are going to adopt also. But anyway, less of that rambling. So today we are playing which mission, Mark?
Good name, good point.
It's called Cloak and Dagger, I remember that.
Oh yeah, check you out. It's the one with hidden tactical objectives. That's the big difference, isn't it?
That's it. So we have managed to acquire one of the fabled tactical objective decks, which seemed to be, certainly in our area of the country, gold dust. You can't buy them for love nor money. Mark offered sex, but they said, no thanks, Bob. He had to pay money. So we are using that deck, and we get 3 objective cards each, and we don't show them to the opponent until we reveal that we have completed them. For those of you who haven't read the new rulebook yet, basically there's 6 new missions which require these cards. Each of them has various things. Do you want to give us a quick sample of what one of the cards could be, Mark?
Yep, so flip from top, 65. So it's Annihilation, score 1 victory point if I destroyed at least 1 enemy unit. If I destroyed 3, I get D3 victory points.
So at the end of each of your turns, you will have had 3 of these cards in your hand, and you can reveal any which you've completed the victory conditions of, and you gain victory points that turn. So we'll keep a victory tracker each, probably on the top of these 2 hills. We will accumulate points as the game goes on, which is a really different way of playing. It stops the end of game objective grab stuff and rewards mobile, more multiple unit armies. So it sounds really good fun. As you can see, we have set up the terrain. There's quite a lot of terrain on the table, as we always like to play with. And we're playing 2,000 points today, and it is hammer and anvil, so that end to that end. We've done all our pre-game rolls. There are 6 objectives on the table, which are all numbered. So you can see there's number 3 there, number 1, number 2, number 5, number 4, and number 6. These are all used during those objectives cards. They'll reference controlling particular numbered objectives. And also these are now set up before you roll table sides, making it a much more tactical choice of where you place them. Instead of just dumping them all in your controlled zone, you have to place them throughout the table. So Mark and I, as you can see, have kind of like, we've got 4 in the central 2 sections of the table, and there's 1 each on the end zone. There's slightly more favourable towards this side, and as I got to choose table sides during setup, I have taken this side. Night fighting, nowadays you get to choose, the players basically converse between them. If one player, or at least one player, wishes to use night fighting, then you get to roll for it. If you both agree that you don't want to use night fighting, you don't have to. So if you forget to roll it, you've basically both agreed not to. Pardon?
I got points red.
Good, just a sec. I'll just quickly go through the things. So we rolled night fighting, but it didn't occur. And first turn, I have got first turn as well, which is quite important. So Mark, thoughts to add?
Thoughts to add, sorry, one thing that it may not be clear, these aren't normal objectives. At the end of the game, you don't score them, it's purely done by cards.
Yeah, the only way to gain points is through these cards and the standard first blood, line breaker, and slay the warlord.
Yep, so that's worth noting. And also, so the way the missions kind of work now is some of the missions stack heavily at the start of the game, some of them stack heavily at the end of the game, and there's a few sort of funny ones in between and stuff like that. So you really can, the game, having played once before, is very much more dynamic.
This one's a more stacked throughout the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think what you mean by the stacking in the game, you get more cards towards the end of the game, don't you? So yeah, some games you'll start with 1 in hand.
Yes. There's one mission where it's equal to turn number. There's one where it's reversed. So you start with 7 and you work your way down.
Ah, interesting. I hadn't read the 7 down one. That's quite interesting.
So it really does impact your armies. It's going to make sort of the ability to get to objectives and move around the board is a lot more important than it certainly was.
Yeah.
You can't just rely on just sitting and holding objectives unless you get lucky with the cards.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so we'll go for our armies in a sec. Let's see how our first game goes. Well, my first game, Mark has played once already. Guarantee I'm going to use that as an excuse if I lose. Okay, so the army I'm bringing today is Chaos Demons with Chaos Space Marine allies. Now, Mark and I, obviously, we discuss all the time all the changes to the game and things, and we both think that psykers have got worse in the new edition. They're certainly more interesting, but generally they got worse because they're just far less reliable to cast their powers. But still, we've both gone really psyker heavy because we want to try out the psychic phase, which is, other than the missions, probably the biggest addition to the game, or certainly the biggest change. So, starting off, we have Fate Weaver himself. I made up a couple of lists, not including him, and then was like, don't be stupid, Mike. Take Fate Weaver, so I did. Powers he has got today. He didn't roll brilliantly on his powers. He's got Iron Arm, Psychic Shriek. Iron Arm is far less important for him now, so that's not particularly good. He's got Prescience, and he's got Sunburst, which seems really good. And he comes with all the change powers. Then we have a Herald of Tzitz. He's level 3, he's on a disc, and he's got... I haven't actually rolled to see what he's got, but he's going to have the Grimoire, I suspect, or possibly the Portaglyph. I shall make a decision shortly. And the powers he has Sacrifice, Cursed Earth, and Summoning. So, again, if you haven't seen, there's a new Demonology Psychic power deck, which has lots of ways of getting new demons into play, so I've invested in that with him. And he also comes with the change Primaris power to give him a shooting attack, which is really nice. I have 2 Soul Grinders. One is Nurgle. He has the Phlegm Bombardment power. And I have a Slaanesh one who has the Bale Torrent, which is really nice. I've got 2 of those. Again, with the changes to vehicles, them being much harder to single out in one shot, I think they're an improved unit. Then I have 11 Pink Horrors. They have got Sacrifice and the change Primaris power. Then I have 20 Demonettes. They just have the upgraded character there at the front. Then we move on to Chaos Space Marines. These are chosen from the Crimson Slaughter supplement. So we have Chaos Lord on bike. He is using the Demon Heart, which is the armour that gives him a 2-up save and it will not die. He's got a 4-up invulnerable save. He's got a Power Axe. He's got Melter Bombs. He's got a Nurgle Mark. I think that's it. I have 2 separate units of Obliterators. So this detachment here isn't an allied detachment. I'm taking it as a second... I think it's called a combined arms detachment, which is basically you have to take at least 1 HQ and 2 troops, but you can take as many of those as you like. But we are playing so you can only have 2 total detachments. So that's him. My 2 troops I'm taking are 10 cultists armed with autoguns. I have 10 Chaos Space Marines because objectives troops are really good at holding objectives. And I wanted a bit of a solid troop unit and a bit more mobile. So they're in a Rhino, and I can only afford 2 Flamers for them. Then we have 5 Chaos Spawn, all marked to Nurgle. You can guess who he's riding around with. And that is my army list. Let's see what Mark's bought. He's bought, here's a clue, loads of Imperial Guard and stuff.
Right then, guys, for today's festivities, I've obviously, as Kelly said, I've got my own Imperial Guard. Down the front, I'm being led by Commissar Yarrick. He's flanked by 2 of my Primaris psykers. One's a level 1, one's a level 2, and a priest. The 2 powers of those guys. The level 1 rolled really well and got perfect timing. And my level 2 rolled really badly and got Misfortune and Scry's Gauge, so he's all warp charge too. Down here, I've got a Blob Squad, which has got it's 3 infantry squads, 3 las cannons, 3 sniper rifles, no other upgrades, and that's their platoon command squad to go with them. Moving on a little bit, I've got my Vex Squad. They've got a heavy flamer, 2 plasma guns, and an auto cannon. At the back there, I have a min squad of conscripts. There's 20 conscripts. Going from left to right, I have a Chimera, which will belong to the veterans. I have a Wyvern with a heavy bolter down the front. I have a Leman Russ Eradicator, which is going around with Pask and a Punisher. I have the Death Strike Missile Launcher. I have the aforementioned Leman Russ Punisher. The Platoon Command Squad has a Chimera with a Heavy Flamer, and also I have a Vendetta. Now, I've got a small allied detachment, which has Tigerius because he's an auto-take. I have a 5-man Legion Dam squad, which has Trip Melter. And I have a single Space Marine squad with a Melter gun. Tiggy, however, made up for my poor rolling on some other powers. He's managed to get me Dominate, Invisibility, which is incredible, Shrouding, and Psychic Shriek. That is my army.
So we have deployed. Let's have a quick look. So I have first turn. I'm over here. I've deployed my Screamers down here. I've got Soul Grinder, Fate Weaver, a load of Demonettes, the Rhino there with the Chaos Space Marines in, got my Spawn with the Lord inside, the Slaanesh Grinder there, Pink Horrors behind, and the Cultists are over here, hoping that one of the cards I get is the objective marker for number 6. Only things I've kept in reserve are the 2 Obliterators. Mark has got his Vendetta in reserve, and do you want to quickly go through what your stuff is, Mark? So,
yep, sure. I've got in the front line, kind of around this kind of area, separated by the unpainted guys, is my conscript blob. Behind that, I've got my 3 las cannons, I've got Tiggy, I've got my ignore cover priest, Death Strike, I've got my veterans, my chimera, I've got my wyvern, I've got my 2 Leman Russes down there, I've got my chimera, and I've got my other priest with the crap powers. In reserves, I've got my Legion of the Damned, and I have a platoon command squad that are in the Vendetta.
and have they got any special weapons? I can't remember.
Nah, just no plane.
Couldn't afford them. No problem. So, Mark is going to try and seize the initiative. Shocker. As first turn here, I'm really pleased I've got, so let's see if he can steal it from me. He got a 5. Close, but no cigar. Let's see what we get. End of Demon turn 1. So this turn we basically pushed forwards with all of my squads. As you can see, the Demonettes have spread out because he's got his Wyvern at the back. They rolled a nice run roll. Moved forward. The Spawn, the Soul Grinder over here. I've taken control of objective number 4 with my Horrors. Over here, these have moved forward. The Grimoire worked, and I also managed to cast Psychic Power, which gives me +1 invulnerable save. So these guys are on a 2-up rerollable. Over here, we have moved the Rhino into the centre of the table, and it is on objective number 2. And other than that, we literally just push forward. Fate Weavers push forward in the centre there, as you can see. I went to the Psychic phase. It's the first time I've used the Psychic phase in 7th edition, and it took forever. How long did it take, Mark?
Half hour.
About forever. I had lots of powers and I'd never used any of them before, and it's all the decisions of dice. Hopefully it will get quicker, but at the minute I was a bit annoyed after the end of my turn. I'd taken so long doing it for very little effect. Psykers are just so less reliable to do it. I tried to cast lots of power 1 powers just using 1 dice because I had far more powers than I had the ability to cast. Otherwise, I failed more or less all of them. Only powers I got off 1 sacrifice with my Herald down here, and he created another Herald over here. He has taken the Portaglyph. I cast beam power that I managed to get off on these 2 tanks, but Mark managed to deny the Witchit. And the only other power I actually successfully cast was a Witchfire against these guys down here, which again Mark managed to deny. We both got loads of power dice, I just didn't roll very well. Mark was just rolling average. So that was the Psychic phase. Took half hour to basically make this dude. Seemed a bit of a waste of time. Other than that, shooting, the only thing that I shot in my army was the Soul Grinder here. He fired over there, managed to get hits on all the tanks, but Mark made his cover saves. Other than that, very little happened until I got to the objective scoring round. So I'd got 3 objectives that 3 objective cards. So one of them said control objective number 5, which was over there, which at the end of the turn I've now discarded because I'm not going to be able to get it. One of them said control any 3 objectives and I gain D3 victory points. So I control the objective in the woods, the objective in the other woods, and the objective in the centre of the table, because remember, every unit is scoring now. So I scored D3, rolled a 6, so I've got 3 victory points there, and the other one said control objective number 4, which I do, and I gained 1 more VP. So I am on 4 victory points, which is a nice tally at the end of turn 1. No first blood, though. Let's move on to Mark's turn.
Right, end of Imperial Guard, turn 1. Right, so the veterans got out here, they got some plasma, so I was hoping to put some wounds down the Lord, and then with a combined fire of the Wyvern, which is absolutely amazing. So basically the plasma's managed to, he looked out sir twice, he got 2 wounds on there, and then combined fire onto Lord has managed to deal him 1 more wound. Down here, I centered the template on this guy, but there was a load of guys around here, and due to twin linking, shredding and stuff like that, I killed about 5 Demonettes, including the leader, and obviously put a wound on this guy around here. These guys were then ordered to run backwards. I'm just trying to make multi-salt a little bit more difficult. Chimera is pulled back because obviously he's a bit more useful than scoring. These guys are a bit of heroes this round. Using orders to give them twin linked, I was able to fire down into the Soul Grinder, which was here, sorry. Soul Grinder blew up, didn't really kill much around it, but that was pretty good rolling on my part. Wyvern I've already gone through. Fortunately, my big epic failure, which is probably going to cost me massively, was I pushed these guys up there to assault the Screamers, and then I failed what is probably a 3-inch charge. Due to
it was 2 1/4 inches you needed.
So that means he's basically just going to go into all 3 of my tanks down there, which is massively bad for my part.
Was due to the new charge rules. If you charge in train, you get -2, which makes short charges they're not guaranteed. A 2 and a bit inch charge was more or less guaranteed. You need to roll 3 1s in the previous rules.
Yeah.
And now you got a 4, which is a much bigger percentage of the numbers you can roll.
Yes. So down there. The only thing that happened in my psychic phase, due to a combination of denying and sort of not brilliant rolling, and I only rolled a 2 for how powers generated, the only thing I've done is I've managed to dominate this squad as well. So the Leadership 7s, that's actually pretty good. Down here, the 2 Lehman Rushes pushed up, and I managed to kill the Summon Herald down here. And then finally, objectives, I had Big Game Hunter, which I got for killing a vehicle, which was the Soul Grinder. Then I had a Witch Hunter, which means I had to kill a unit or psyker, so something like Brotherhood of the Psyker. And that is obviously why I went for the Herald down here. So I scored 2 points, and also got First Blood to put me on 3. But now it's the start of Curly's turn 2, and I'm going to say goodbye to about 400 points worth of stuff.
End of Demon turn 2. What happened this turn? Again, pushed forward. Obviously, Mark's got his Death Strike, which can fire this turn, which is just going to, whatever happens, it's going to screw me over. I tried to push forward enough. The Demonettes failed one of the 2 leadership tests they were called upon to make, so I couldn't assault with those, which is a bit of a pain due to Mark's dominate last round. These guys had moved forwards. Now, I could have kept them in the Rhino, which would have stopped them being Death Striked, but there was a nice opportunity to remove this big squad of conscripts here, which they more or less did. You can see Yarrick is still alive, but he has 3 dudes with him, so they did a good number on his squad. Over here, I multi-assaulted Mark's 3 tanks, but then we kind of like remembered all the different rules, and the chance of killing them all wasn't that good, because I've only got strength 5 in assault. They may be rolling armor bane, but the armor 11 at the back of Pask's tank saved him a bit. I managed to blow up the other one, but it killed 2 screamers in the explosion, which I was not happy about. I'd failed my Grimoire, even using Fate Weaver's reroll this turn, so they're not on a good invulnerable save, so I can probably kiss goodbye to that squad with the big Punisher cannon. Going to the Psychic phase, I again cast the exact same 2 powers last turn, and everything else got nullified. I managed to summon another Herald, and I managed to cast the +1 invulnerable save from that guy on the squad. Fate Weaver had moved forward over to there, intending to unleash hell with a storm of different psychic powers and such, but they were all either denied or failed to cast, which was pretty poor. Best luck I had this turn was I managed to deep strike in 2 obliterators in quite dangerous areas. You can see that one there really was balls to the wall, try it, because I wanted to get a twin link melter shot on each of these 2 vehicles. I managed to succeed on both of them, but then didn't roll particularly well on the damage chart, so they've each lost a whole point, nothing else. These guys over here managed to do a multi-charge on Mark's Veteran Squad and the Chimera. I failed to hurt the Chimera at all with my 2 spawn, but I wiped out the entire squad of Veterans with the Lord and the others, and caused him to fail a leadership check, and then wiped him out when he ran. I didn't get any Chaos Reward from winning a challenge, though, because I rolled too low. Soul Grinder didn't hit anything. These 2 squads at the back are literally sitting here doing nothing. The Horrors have got the summoning power, but because I've got quite a few dice, I managed to get 14 dice, I think, in the Psychic phase. But you need 6 dice to do the minimum chance of casting a summoning, really. Ideally, you'd want to throw 8 at it to make it likely. And you just can't throw your entire Psychic phase away, more or less, on summoning 10 Horrors. It just doesn't seem useful, so I'm not sure they were the best choice for this game. I can see if you overload on Psychic, have everything be Psychic, then the points are useful, but I think with the amount I've got, it's not that clever. Anything else happen? So in the assault phase, I wiped them out, so that let me score a couple more objective points. I got 1 for making Mark fail a leadership check during my turn, and I got 1 for having a unit in his back 12 inches of his board, which is the 2 obliterators there. And then I discarded another 1, which was kill stuff in my shooting phase, because I'm pretty impotent during that phase. Let's see what happens on Mark's turn. I fear for my Screamers.
Right, this is the end of Imperial Guard turn 2. Right, so I'll start down on this side. Yarrick issued orders for this squad to bring it down. No, sorry, front rank fire, second rank fire. Fired into this squad, did a little bit of damage, taken a wound down the wounds, and I think I've removed 1 more of the spawn, but other than that, unfortunately, didn't do much. Didn't roll particularly great. This guy tried to plink into there, did nothing. Yarrick squad also fired down into these guys. I don't think they did much, and he also issued the order to run back into, well, I tried to run into him, but didn't get very far. Vendetta was hoping to take out one of your blitz, but unfortunately he made his 2 invulnerable saves. Death Strike failed to fire this turn, which is really, really important, because obviously he's got a lot of stuff clustered around here, and it's probably in serious trouble now because he's got on a blitz. He can't fire his melter gun, I suppose, but he's got a las cannon, I suppose, he could shoot me with.
And a multi-melter.
Oh, you got multi-melter as well? Yeah, so yeah, he's in trouble. Wyvern did actually do pretty good. He managed to take out the 2 flames from this squad, but they passed their morale and pinning tests. Down there where you got the Punisher, you got the tank here, and you also got my Legion of the Damned squad. They did eventually manage to take out the 3 or 4 remaining Screamers and the Herald, but it probably took a little bit too much firepower than it should have done. And then Psychic phase was utter failure. I didn't manage to cast. I only successfully cast was a Psychic Shriek, and then I rolled an 8 on the Nurgle Bitch leadership value. So obviously did absolutely nothing. So all in all, reasonably bad turn for me. I only managed to score 1 objective, which was secure objective 3, which is that one down there for Legion of Damned, and I discarded the card for secure objective 2. So at the end of my turn, that is it.
On to Demon turn 3. The game's getting a bit quicker now. We're getting a bit more to some of the changes and such. So over here, my cultist, who I'd brought auto guns for, awesome, go me, and my Soul Grinder there, all piled shots into the 4 remaining Legion of the Damned. Soul Grinder killed 3 of them with some terrible saves from Mark, and then my cultist pitter-pattered off the last remaining one's armour. In the centre of the board, I had moved up my Chaos Space Marines using their Rhino as cover and had put some fire on Yarrick's squad, taking out all the members of his squad nearby him. I then assaulted him with my Demonettes and managed to kill Yarrick, and he has failed to stand up because we rolled just before this. There's one dude who made his leadership check, unfortunately for Mark, so all the Demonettes are nicely safe locked in cover with one dude, which is really good for me. Fate Weaver has landed over there because he was running out of table space, but he managed to get Iron Arm off in the Psychic phase, so he's now toughness 8. So he's not particularly vulnerable to much. The 2 Obliterators both did their jobs. This Obliterator managed to multi-melter the Wyvern out of existence. And over there, that one managed to get a charge off into the side of the Death Strike and managed to destroy that with 3 hits of his Power Fits, which was really nice. We got involved in the combat over here. I managed to get in. I'd managed to reduce a bit of the Overwatch fire on me. I lost 1 of my dudes during Overwatch. Got into combat. Tigris did 2 wounds to another one of the spawn, but then the rest of Mark's unit failed to do any wounds at all. My Lord killed a sergeant, would go him, but then managed to get reroll armor saves with his 2-up armor, so that's really handy. I mean, him on his own now could possibly win that combat, being toughness 6. Mark didn't run off the board though, so he's okay there. Couldn't hurt these down here, and over there we just mulled around. Psychic phase, I got off Iron Arm, and I summoned a Nurgle Herald, which is now in reserve because he failed to Deep Strike. So again, Psychic phase did very little. Okay, on to Mark's turn.
Turn 4 for you. Right, this is the end of Imperial turn 3. Right, so down to combat. The combat continued. I finally got a decent chance my Psychic phase this time. I activated my Force Weapons, which meant my Tigerius and my Primaris were doing Force Weapons. They managed to wipe out the 3 spawns. Also managed to get Invisibility off as well, which means he's rolling 6/6 to hit. However, the slight counter to this is his ward is currently re-rolling failed armor saves and has Shred as well. So he's obviously a bit uber powerful at the moment. Down here, my Chimera didn't mobilize result and went to score that objective. We just removed that model there. I put a reasonable amount of firepower down to try and kill this Rhino, so that was the Chimera down there and the Multi-Melter down there, and I've taken 2 hull points off it. Vendetta fired down to Soul Grinder, and I've taken 2 hull points off. I did Penetrator, but he made his Demon ignore that spell. Punisher tried to attack out this a blip, unfortunately I only dealt him a wound, so that wasn't great for me. And yes, objective secured. My redeeming on my turn, I had objective secure number 2 twice, so that Chimera managed to score that. And then I also had secure objective 1, which is 1 down in there. So I scored that. So current points on the doors is I have 7 and Curly has 9.
Okay, at this point I'll have to do a quick apology. It appears that when I transferred all the video files back over to my computer, it lost Demon turn 4. So I'm quickly gone back into my living room and will do what I had from memory. As you can see, Mark has left, so we don't have his models and such on the board. I've even started packing away the terrain. But Demon turn 4, basically my Demonettes were in a big blob down here, can't really see that. They had moved up here and attacked Mark's Chimera, destroying it. Down here I had my Chaos Space Marine mob, which you can see is out there, which I'm about to put away, and they had attacked the other Chimera, which was hidden in the trees. I'd managed to explode it, and his squad had disembarked at the back of it. There was a big combat going on over there with my Chaos Lord and Mark's big blob squad. It was basically a drawn combat there. Back here I failed to kill the last Legion of the Damned, who was hiding in his ruin there. And my Pink Horrors over there had spread out. Fate Weaver had moved this way and attempted to kill the flying Vendetta, but didn't really do anything to it, and my 2 Obliterators at the back of the table failed to pop the 2 Chimeras that were lying around. So not a whole lot happened for me other than objective scoring, in which I scored all 3 objectives. I had 1 for controlling the point that was in these woods, 1 for controlling the point that my cultists had over here, and 1 for over there. Really good drawing for me, and that had put me up quite a lot on the victory points, as you'll see shortly. Okay, sorry about the weird video there for that bit, but couldn't be helped.
Right then, this is the end of Imperial Guard turn 4. Right, I haven't really got much left on the board, to be honest. So all I've done, Vendetta has flown off to go back in reserves. I attempted to deep strike the platoon command squad down here because I had the objective score, objective 4, but unfortunately I had deep strike mishaps and has obviously killed the whole unit. The Punishers fly down into the units, and there's only 3 of them left, so I killed a good number of them. The guys got out here, they rolled abysmally, haven't killed a single Marine. Legions down, tried to pop this guy, but missed. Well, I wouldn't say it's redeeming, but the only thing that's actually happened that's kind of good for me in my turn is I've got invisibility and misfortune off. So, you know, I've got a semi-decent chance now taking out his Chaos Lord, which is good for me. Right, end of my turn 4. Oh, objectives. This is one of those games when people are going to sort of say, you know, sometimes a bit swingy. This turn I had score objective 4, score objective 6, and score every objective. And as you can tell, that's not very good for me. And also I can only pitch 1 card. So I've only really got a realistic chance to get 1 objective next turn as well. So all in all, that's kind of going to swing in Cody's favour.
Okay, so I drew my objective cards for the start of my Demon turn 5. We looked at them, and I can get at least 2 to 3, possibly up to 5 objective points pretty easily. And as it's running quite late, because this game took quite some time, we've decided to call it a day there at the end of turn 4. The scores on the doors at the moment at the end of turn 4 are myself 12 and Mark 7. But as I could score, I'd say let's be conservative and say at least 2 more. That put me on 14, and Mark says he can only get 1 on his turn likely. So he's just out of range of winning the game there. So we decided to call it a day there to save us a bit of time. So, thoughts on the new edition, Mark?
I really like the tactical objectives. Although, you know, in some ways it worked out badly for me, I still like the flexibility that kind of makes different units become better. Legions down, being able to teleport in and score an objective.
Mobility has been so much better. Instead of just gun lining, you couldn't redo it. And the fact that I've got units all over the board, I think, has helped me, because obviously I can deep strike some in. The 2 Obliterators deep striking in gave me presence of that into the board, which was really helpful. Yeah, I agree. I really like, they are more random. It's not as skillful, let's say, because you can't plan for what you're getting. But if you've made your army able to do lots of stuff, then that is part of the planning.
But you've got to put sugar in my tea.
Damn it! Sorry, my bad.
Sugar making, tea making. Yes and no. I think I agree. You will lose games just by getting bad objectives.
Yeah.
But if I'm honest, I don't think it's going to happen as often as people think.
No.
And also, you've got to remember, once you get rid of an objective, it doesn't go back into deck. So, you know, realistically, I think it's going to balance out most of the game. But it's the same as dice, isn't it? Dice will sometimes.
Exactly. I mean, you can't really complain again about the randomness of the game when you're rolling a load of dice.
Yeah. So
and okay, if you roll hundreds of dice, that evens out the averages, but it still comes down to the important die rolls, the saves on your characters, the psychic checks that you fail or manage to pass. There's still one-off die events which have massive implications for the game. So
things like not getting my death strike was probably huge.
Exactly, yeah, that was a massive point of the game, because you'd have taken out my Marine squad, who have since gone and claimed an objective, killed a Rhino about to kill your Space Marines over here.
Probably done a lot of damage to that, a lot of damage to Demon X.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it would have, I think that could have made a massive difference. But and I think that turn was just a bad turn for me. That's when I failed to kill in the blitz and all sorts of things just went a bit peaked on. I mean, psychic phases. I don't.
So how many levels of Psyker did you have?
6 levels.
And I had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I had 9 levels of Psyker. So normally we'd have cast. Well, I'd have cast maybe 7 spells a turn. You'd have cast 5 spells a turn.
Yep.
Sorry, in 6th edition that's what we'd have done. But in this edition, we generally got off maybe 2, possibly 3 a turn off at most.
So much more difficult. Even Tiggy auto take broken, and we played it because we're not sure. We let me re-roll all the dice if I wanted to.
Yeah, so you can just pick them all up, roll them all.
And even then, still can't hardly any power. It really, other than maybe, as you said, towards the end when I whittled your psychers down a little bit, it started to have an effect.
I lost my level 3 in my Herald.
Getting invisibility off and getting misfortune.
Yeah. Otherwise, my Lord was going to go through your squad.
Yeah,
but then you turned it around so that you're basically holding him. But still,
I think
good job.
Statistics mean I probably should have killed him next turn just on on.
Yeah, I think so. You should have killed him that turn with the rendings, just because I think I made 2 to 3 invulnerable saves.
Yeah, 3 invulnerable saves. So
from the demonology school, I took obviously Fate with didn't take demonology, but I had demonology with those 2. I've seen obviously the stuff on the internet where people have taken an entire army dedicated to summoning, and I think if you do that, possibly it'll work. But I dabbled in summoning. I mean, I summoned 2 heralds throughout the game. I never cast the actual summoning spell to get another unit, because spending 6 of your dice, that's kind of like a half to a third of your dice to get a squad of 10 horrors to give you 1 more dice next turn, just doesn't seem worth it. I think you'd have to just plough your entire army dedicated to summoning stuff to make it useful. If I'd have got the Summon the Greater Demon power, I'd have tried for that, because Greater Demons are obviously much more powerful, but I'm not worried about the demonology school for standard play. I mean, okay, people might spam it, and then a lot of things become issues if you're trying to make an army that's not fun. It's
I don't even know how good that is, how useful it is just to have a bunch of reasonably weak units.
But fuck it, who owns that many horror models?
And who wants to buy that many,
Exactly.
Because it's not, as you said, it's not going to be a fun game. You really are you're just making it that unfun for you and your opponent.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't think you're going to be seeing it that often.
Other 6 changes, I thought the vehicle rules, I really like the fact it's really hard to blow up a vehicle in one shot now.
Well, vehicles have generally survived. That's the difference here. I still have a Punisher.
Yeah.
Although my transport.
My Rhino is still here.
Yeah. I mean, I committed my transports. I was going for them. So
there's a kind of shadow buff we found out about for assaulting vehicles, because you can only blow up on a 7. Most units don't have an AP2 weapon. So if you surround with crack grenades or rending from my fiends and from my Slaanesh dudes, surround a vehicle, it can't blow up in your face and murder half your squad. Like, I charged into Mark's Hammer, I was like, oh, bollocks, I'm going to blow up my squad. And then I was like, oh, no, actually, it can't blow up now from standard close combat attacks, which is really nice. So a little buff to fragile, fast melee units, which I like. Any other comments and thoughts? The new terrain rules are a little different, but not really. The fact they got rid of area terrain, but then replaced it with loads of named terrain you can buy from them.
Oh, it's just annoying.
Bit weird.
It's always on tempted just to keep the old rules.
Yeah, it works better, doesn't it? Like, we put these on the board, so we've got our crashed lander, and we've got this one over here, which is some kind of battlefield debris. But then when we looked up the rules for them, we found that the crash lander doesn't give you cover save for standing on it at all. So you can gain a cover save for being obscured by it, and at certain heights it does work. Like that bit over there can obscure people. But didn't really do its job. I'd kind of put it there and assumed it would give somebody cover. And this one turned out it was just dangerous terrain over the whole piece, which was not good. So I didn't go near that during my turn.
Yeah.
Other useful stuff... Not really any other changes from edition that really came up, were there? There were a few slight things, but nothing I can particularly think of at this point.
Like I said, I think we both agree it's better.
Yeah, there's the little slight tweaks just to fix a couple of issues were fine.
Yeah.
The -2 charge came into play a couple of times. I think it probably makes you slightly slower than the 3 dice.
It stopped quite a big charge for me, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that would have been quite a big one.
Which hurt me quite badly, but... yeah, interesting. Overall, I think we both like the new edition.
Yeah, I really like the. As you said, I just really like the objective. I felt it made for a much better, a much more dynamic game. I suppose that's the term.
Yeah.
I really like picking them up, finding out what I was doing on the next turn. Then you had to have an army. I think that influences army build quite a lot.
Massively. It's I really want to see what they do in the Legion Down code, because Kelly and I disagree on this, but I'm hoping that they gain. If they're primary detach and uber scoring, because that deep striking uber scoring units I think would be really powerful.
Yeah, I agree it would have. One of the reasons I don't think it would, just due to the fact they haven't changed. I mean, obviously this is assuming they errata anything.
Yeah.
God's willing, they might release the FAQ soon. But due to the fact the big guns and the scouring no longer, I assumed they would make the fast attack and the heavy super scoring, because it's just a simple rule to give out to units, but they decided against it.
Yeah, I suppose it is interesting. It's just. Then there's no point of ever having Legion of Damn Primary other than to get the Warlord table. It does nothing.
Yep. But I see what you mean, yeah. Does nothing.
Which seems to kind of invalidate, it is technically a codex, so...
But then you could also go into the discussion that if they were to do that to the Legion of the Damned, then the Knights would become super scoring, which seems a bit brock. Whereas now they're just scoring, they don't seem anywhere near as powerful as a codex than they were when scoring was a big thing.
They should get super scoring, to be honest.
I'm not sure they should. A big knight stomping around getting super scoring.
When you're talking about 6 objectives, that means you're going to have 5 knights. There's always going to be an objective you can't get.
True.
The amount of damage you could deal out, and stuff like that. And they've nerfed They've made whole points better, but they've nerfed your D weapon.
Yep.
So,
But the stomp is still really good.
The stomp is still, annoying.
One other thing to quickly discuss was the beginning of game phase. If anyone's found in the rulebook a nice little kind of like table saying what order you do stuff at the beginning of the game is quite handy, because we had to fumble around. Psychic powers are generated before the game. Is that before we've chosen sides, before we've set up? They're all in different places in the book instead of there being a nice breakdown anywhere that we found.
Yep.
But obviously the change is that you set up objectives before you choose table sides makes a huge difference to the way the game plays. Because if we'd have chosen table sides first, Mark would have put 3 objectives all in his deployment zone, and that would have made it a lot easier for him to do stuff, being a more shooty army. I'd have had to come to him. Whereas because they spread out over the table, I think my slightly faster army gained an advantage over that. So that, I think, is a big change and a welcome change. And the fact that you can now, the person who sets up first gets the choice of going first or second.
Yeah, I was going to say about that. That is hugely powerful, and I don't know whether it's possibly too powerful.
I think it is, because I was going first this game, it was less effective due to the fact that I had no shooting, and I think changing the going first second is generally if the opponent's put everything out of your line of sight, you might choose to go second. But I think that's a powerful effect, and due to the fact that if you're using these types of missions, the taking second turn is a lot less important because you're not going to be jumping on missions at the end of the game. So second turn is a lot less attractive in most games. So the choosing to go first, I think you'd always choose to go first now. Yeah,
there's no reason why you don't commit. Like, there's no point in holding back on, like, which is a big difference now, isn't it? Because you can score from turn 1, so there's no reason not to. So you get the first fire phrase and try for first blood. So
like little squads of objective grabbers you keep off the board. You're generally leaving them at home. I had my cultists, which they scored that a couple of times, so they certainly did their use. But little jet bite squads just to run on and grab objectives seem less useful, which I think is a good thing. I don't think they're particularly fun units to have in the game.
Well, you say that.
I mean, you're only spending 40 odd points on 3 jet bites, so you still take them.
I think they still have a place. They still turn up to that. But as you said, it's not.
I think they're less annoying for your opponent. There's nothing more annoying than jet bikes staying off till turn 4, running on and winning the game for your opponent.
Yeah, agreed. It is an unfun mechanic, but obviously, So you're right. It's less important now to hold these kind of units and reserves, and you can't, because you want to score from as soon as possible. So yeah.
But overall, good game, and I like most of the changes. A couple of issues need ironing out. Hopefully we'll get up tomorrow morning and some bod at Games Workshop would have got up and released all the FAQs into the world. And
obviously they've written them, they just haven't pressed play yet. For
that's it. I mean, it's a weekend. I mean, it's hard to press. Kind of
like holiday weekend.
Hard to upload a weekend, isn't it? I mean, the internet's really slow, as you'll see when I upload this video in 5 minutes.
I mean, clearly it was like bank holiday weekend. They finished at 12 o'clock. They said, right, we'll just release it, go to bed, go get pissed. That's what they decided. So I understand.
That's it. It's not like you can upload kind of like a PDF from your phone or anything.
Yeah, we know IT guys don't work at weekends. So.
Okay, so thanks for watching, everybody, and good game, Mark.
Charles.
We shall see you next time.